Welcome to Beyond SEO with Growthack.io, where we look at what really drives growth for brands. From search and content to product data and strategy, we look into the ideas and conversations that go way beyond SEO. Today, I'm joined by Glenn and Sarif for another internal discussion at Growthack, where we're looking into all things GEO, AI Search, AEO, whatever you want to call it, LLM.
Indeed. So many words.
There's so many different acronyms, right? So we're going to dive into that. And the reason why we wanted to do this episode is Sarif's done a lot of research on this, and he's published an article on our blog, and he's debunked 15 myths and facts around GEO and all the other acronyms that I've mentioned just now. So I thought it'd be really cool just to have a kind of a roundtable discussion in the team and talk about this, because everyone's talking about it and clients are talking about it, prospects are talking about it. We've lost a recent deal, speaking to a prospect, because guess what? We weren't AI search specific enough. We weren't a specialist within this area. So even though we do specialist things around this, we don't like to hype it up too much, because we feel that brands can get a lot of value in focusing on the traditional elements and the things that are actually going to drive revenue. However, this is the reality that we live in, where AI is the top of the discussion. So yeah, I think it'd be cool to start with, why does GEO exist? Where does this acronym come from? And why is it such a thing in SEO that's causing so much division, do we think? Starting with you, Sarah.
Yeah, I do think if you know some backstory behind all these LLM and agentic models, there has been a research published not too long ago, 2023, which was basically published by a team of researchers from Princeton University, independent research, as well as some other individual themselves, where basically they looked at like the whole how LLM works, how this AI platform works, and whether there is any difference between them and SEO. And from the user perspective, for example, for us, like if we were to use AI or SEO or a Google search engine, there are some difference in terms of how we use AI versus SEO, because with these AI platforms, as you may already know, you can upload your documents or images, then you can get really personalized answer for those. Whereas with the traditional search, you can't really do much other than just type in keywords and just get the answer from it. So that's the main difference in terms of from the user perspective. But again, that's where I think the GEO, because also the behind the story behind all this popularity being held accountable for, like ChatGPT, Claude being really popular. So if you look at like trends of user growth, using these platforms, you'll see like a trends from here going steady, then just skyrocket at the top. So which is again, so people tend to, hype this the whole GEO thing just because there's a new platforms out there.
Absolutely.
Other than traditional SEO.
And I think because we work in such a tech heavy space, we're always intrigued by new technology, and we love grabbing onto new shiny things. I think as an industry, is that the reason why we keep inventing new acronyms for old practices?
Yeah, honestly, like it's one of those things where when I was obviously trying to look at obviously GEO becoming a thing and everything like that, and it feels like from what I've seen, it feels like just focusing on the fundamentals essentially, because going to what you were saying before, Sarah, with like new platforms, I think when a lot of people are talking about GEO, they're talking about it from a perspective of trying to attain visibility through essentially different platforms like ChatGPT, for example. But when I think of that description of GEO, visibility through varying platforms, I think of omnichannel. So unless I'm missing something, I feel like people are trying to garner attention through this new acronym, which obviously a lot of the clients are using, when in fact, going to what you were saying before, Kevin, it's just omnipresent through different platforms, essentially.
Yeah, that's a good distinction there, because we have had different terms before. Omnichannel is one of them, where you look at other elements within marketing and other channels that all work together. And that is essentially what GEO is, because it is going beyond, the traditional SEO aspects. But does it need to have a new discipline? I guess is the question.
Yeah, that's the question. Yeah.
and maybe there is a place for having its own distinction, but are we placing too much emphasis on that as a discipline, should we say?
I think brands, if I was in brand side, I think brands start to lose visibility in traditional searches. As you can probably tell, within the last 6 months, the Google AI overview has led to, I think, over 30% clicks drop. So then they wonder, okay, where are these traffic going to? And it's not just they're going to somewhere else, it's just the answer has been populated in the top 10 blue links. So, which doesn't really mean like you have to invest into GEO tactics or any other strategies to rank in GEO, because traffics are not going there, just how we present or how the AI or search engine present the information for the user, making it easier for the user to get the right information.
That is a good point, because AI overviews is essentially an evolution of featured snippets and other features that have been within Google for quite some time, which are AI driven. However, we've reached this inflection point where we are now creating new acronyms for technology that has been trending towards this point for a while. And we know that zero-click search is a phenomenon that has been existing over time and is continuing to grow. There's less and less clicks to websites in general. And as the search landscape becomes more diverse with all these different platforms coming into the mix, we're naturally going to see less clicks. Yeah. So this isn't anything new. However, I guess perhaps for people who weren't too clued up about SEO, it seems like they've now got a lot stronger voices in this topic.
And I will say as well, going to the brands, we're looking at brands specifically, like what you said, Kevin, they're not too familiar with the intricacies of SEO. So when they do see, say, someone within the industry talking about GEO, I can imagine when it first became a thing, it was an acronym that a lot of the brands who are, say, marketing directors or in positions of making decisions for the business, they just saw it from a face value perspective and like, oh, okay, this is something new. And I think it's just something that's just propagated within the industry to the point where if the top level marketing directors or people in decision-making positions within a business are now using this specific term, I think now within the industry from an SEO perspective, a lot of the SEOs are now kind of on that balancing point of like, oh, should we then kind of go on that bandwagon of GEO, or should we just be like, right, we're sticking to SEO? But I think that's where it's a little bit of a struggle now, because I think now, like going back to what I was saying before, marketing directors, business owners, they've now seen this term and are kind of running with it. And as an industry now within SEO, it's kind of like that inward struggle of like, oh, do we go with it, or do we kind of let or educate business owners in terms of like, it's still the fundamentals. That's where I think a lot of the people within the industry are kind of looking at things.
Absolutely. It feels as though we've reached a point where we kind of have to accept the fact that GEO is a thing, because we're seeing it in job descriptions.
Yeah,
we're seeing it from prospects asking the question. We're seeing it from current clients asking the question. So it feels as though we've reached a point where we can't dismiss it.
Yeah,
and it's a topic that needs to be discussed. And yeah, it goes back to what you're saying, Glenn. Education. A lot of these things are traditional, fundamental elements that are emphasized in different ways.
Yeah,
and it's just educating clients around that and not taking advantage of their lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
That's the bit for me where I kind of draw the line on these acronyms. We're in a unique position where we've got the experience, where we're trusted to advise clients.
Yeah.
And it feels as though some people are abusing that trust, potentially,
100%.
in terms of emphasizing the importance of certain things to sell a retainer. And I think that's where I draw the line. I'm always quite keen on educating clients and telling them how it is. And maybe that's lost us some deals, but I'd rather we work on clients that are focused on the right things than the wrong things.
Yeah, it is such a tempting thing as well. Like I can imagine, because like it's such a new thing, like that obviously marketing directors or business owners who are looking for like GEO services, the agency or whoever they hire in-house, whatever, they have the opportunity to just kind of just string things along and just be like, oh, explain things in, you know, random jargon where they're like, I have no idea what you said, but I've hired you, so you do the job. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We've been in pitches where, you know, we explain the strategy, we tell them, oh, this is how they're going to make so much more revenue. This is how they're going to achieve their goals of, I don't know, going from Series A to Series B. You know, this is how we're going to do it. And we get the question, oh, but what about GEO?
Yeah, that was actually another thing I wanted to bring up as well. I feel like you've said this before, Kevin, where I feel like it's a case of shiny object syndrome, where obviously people are talking about, you know, GEO, this, AE, or whatever, but at the end of the day, we're looking to boost the bottom line of a business. So I think people are getting too caught up in the details on the intricacies of certain things that at the end of the day, like what you were saying before with, you know, the pitch and everything, is this going to drive results as opposed to like, oh, focusing on GEO, for example. So
yeah, certainly. It makes me think about Sam Altman recently saying that a lot of these, I think it was him, I hope I'm not misquoting him, I think he recently said that a lot of these AI companies are overvalued and there's going to be a massive correction in the market at some point. Maybe it's going to be this year. So it feels like a lot of these things that we've been emphasizing, you know, with AI, people are going to soon realize, oh, hang on, this thing isn't making me more money.
Yeah.
Why am I doing this? And then that's going to be the point, I feel, where there's going to be that correction where people kind of go back to basics. So yeah, the whole point about this podcast is to just bring light to, I guess, some of these topics and just have a real conversation around it and make people trust, I guess, the core principles, because those never change, right? Core marketing principles, core SEO principles never change. They may evolve into something else.
Yeah.
But I feel that we need to have this space where we can educate people around these things.
Yeah, because I always think about the introduction of AI. I feel like people are kind of trying to run before they can walk. If your sites, obviously I'm thinking of a client that we work with at the moment where they were talking about AI related stuff, but from a technical perspective, the foundations need to be looked at first. And if you're trying to just think about, say this, I don't know, when I think about jiu-jitsu, for example, you're trying to focus on the advanced techniques or the advanced submissions when you don't even know how to start off on how to defend yourself if you're on the bottom. It's about the fundamentals, and one thing that will never go away when it comes to the whole SEO, GEO stuff, AEO stuff, is if your site's not going to looking at the websites as opposed to omnichannel, if your site's not structurally correct, then trying to attain visibility on these platforms is something that doesn't make sense, essentially. So.
Absolutely. And a lot of the tools, I'm not going to mention any of the tools by name, but I think a lot of the tools that are coming out are quite in the infancy. The data has been scrutinized and some of that data is overinflated. Again, you know, looking at the numbers when they start mentioning things like volume, how many searches, etc., are within these platforms, it's completely an unknown, because like you were saying earlier, Sarif, that is such a personal experience that people are having with these platforms. Everyone's search is going to be unique to them. They may use specific images, specific data, documents that they're going to upload into these platforms. So how can you get volume for search queries? It's just not the same. You know, we're comparing apples with oranges here when it comes to these platforms. And yeah, perhaps to an extent there is a space for GEO to exist. However, we can't overemphasize the importance of that over traditional SEO. I think that's where we draw the line. We can't say it's either this or that.
Yeah.
And you can't have the GEO before looking at the traditional aspects. So yeah, it kind of goes back to that. And just moving on from this, so speaking about this topic, what can we say has changed because certain things have changed. So what can we say has changed and what hasn't when it comes to AI search, looking back at your research, Sarah?
I think nothing, in all honesty. It's just the tactics that has been said by many SEOs or so-called marketing experts. And those tactics are essentially like, the best SEO practices that has been utilized by many OGs SEO as well. And I think people start to notice that they need to invest offline marketing as well, which basically means not on the website, but what people are saying about your brands offsite. Whether it's Reddit, I think I know Reddit is a bit hot topic nowadays. People, those who's offering like GEO services, Reddit is the top of the list, like how they can optimize the brands for Reddit threads and stuff like that. So I think brands are, now start to realize that they need to invest heavily onto the community, building community, that people can talk about their products, not just what they're saying on the website, because people you can only say good stuff, what's happening within the business on the website, but what customers are saying is actually what the reality is from the product side or the service side that you have to offer, which is basically the same, which was before and compared to now, whether it's traditional search or SEO. There's nothing much changed as far as I know from the content side.
Yeah, I would say one of the things that's probably changed, if you want to call it changed, is just what's being prioritized a lot more, or what needs to be looked at a lot more. So going back to what you were saying, Sarah, of brand sentiment, looking at more offline related stuff. That's obviously a key thing when trying to attain visibility on these AI platforms. And obviously that's something that was probably looked at from an SEO perspective in the form of backlinks. Whereas now with visibility on, AI overviews and also other additional AI platforms, being able to look at additional channels that can support that visibility externally is probably something that's maybe being increased in terms of importance. But again, it was always part of the process when looking at SEO that you'd look at, say, technical. Once the technical is sorted, then content. Then once the content and the technical of the website was strong, that's when you can look to build the external visibility through backlinks. So I would say it's just a reprioritization of certain things that have always been there, which I know, Kevin, you've touched on as well quite a few times. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at some of the quotes in the industry, Mark Williams Cook is quite a prominent voice in our space, and he's got, I think, nearly 100,000 followers on LinkedIn. And I love reading his posts, and he constantly questions people who talk about GEO as a new practice. And he's got this famous line where he says, name 3 things that are different in GEO compared to traditional SEO. And a lot of the things that they list are things that good SEOs have been doing for a very long time, because we know the impact of AI overviews, we know the impact of zero-click search. So we've already been doing a lot of the practices, like the so-called chunking of information, the so-called focusing on PR, brand mentions. Brand mentions has been talked about so long, for so long in the PR industry. We work with PR professionals, and they've not been focusing on links for a very long time, because they've understood the power of a brand mention for a long time. So, it's things like this that sometimes people try and overestimate, I think, the value of certain practices.
Yeah.
So yeah, just wanted to throw that out there. And there's so many good reference points that you've put together, Sarah. So I think this is a really good, almost like a Bible that we'll keep updating on the website, just to keep educating people around this. And yeah, just to, I guess, finish off the episode on this topic, from a practical standpoint, moving forward, what do you think brands should be focusing on with AI search? Because it is something that is impacting the customer journey, and we can't run away from that. So what should we focus on this year, or what have we been focusing on this year?
I don't want to sound repetitive, but technical content and links.
You're right.
But if I want to be a bit more kind of honed in, I would say number one, you want to make sure that you're working with a good agency that can help you spot the technical issues of your site. And from there, once you've established that from a technical perspective, the site's sound, that's when you can look to kind of build a strong content strategy around that. And once you've kind of built that strong ecosystem for your website, that's when you can kind of be like, okay, how can we then look to build visibility beyond just search results? And obviously that's where it kind of goes back to, it sounds repetitive, but it just goes back to like, the PR link building activities essentially.
Absolutely. And Sarah, what would you say you're focusing on? Because I know you're working on helping us scale what we do with AI, so it may not be related entirely to search, but what kind of things should we be focusing on when it comes to AI search?
Yeah, I think that from the brand side, I think they need to ask their existing SEO in-house, whether or external SEO agency, to ask them the question: are we ranking well in traditional searches or Google? If you're not ranking well in normal searches, forget about AI. You're not able to do well if you're not doing well in traditional searches, because AI will take into consideration how you do well in normal searches, because if you're not doing relatively well, again, ranking like, for example, top 3 or top 10 position in normal, whether it's for products or landing pages, I think you have a lot of work to do to fix your existing SEO strategy before you go into traditional searches. Because I can share from a case study that we had a clients that we have been working for, I think, 8 to 12 months now. And they recently did their website redesign, and as part of the project, we also looked at the SEO side as well. So making sure the homepage messaging is clear, it speaks to the customer, it explains the products clearly, making sure they have the good navigation, making sure the content speaks to the problems the customer is facing, and all these basic things that also adds up to able to rank in traditional searches, which also now if we do search in ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity or any other AI platforms, if we research for their clients, if we do research for that client seems to appear number 1 or 2 in the recommendations in the category. But we haven't done any AI SEO as far as I know, or GEO tactics, but it has been just traditional good content, making sure you have the technical foundation in place, making sure your messaging is clear to the audience and what you have to say about your products. And speaking of the messaging, I think it's quite common. We may have also came across some SaaS website nowadays where they want to highly prioritize into GEO or so-called AEO. We also lost the deal because of that. I think the one thing that really stood out to me is the messaging on the homepage, because many enterprise level SaaS tend to have some very jargon or very buzzword into the messaging.
Absolutely.
And if you were to extract all the content from, for example, from the homepage and put it in a plain documents and share this with their internal product teams or CEO, he or she will be confused, like what they're saying about the products. They'll be confused by themselves. The customer will be confused. Everyone will be confused. So I think clear messaging will help you out for the AI or AI age or AI era from my side. I think content, speak to your audience, making sure you don't overcomplicate content and the website or in general.
Yeah, for sure. It comes back to positioning, which is another fundamental element that good SEOs have been focusing on for a very long time. And you've touched on a very, very important topic there. A lot of these enterprise clients will have a brand message that they want to have on the homepage, and that will confuse customers. They just don't understand what that means. So just speaking in plain language, making sure that your customers understand or potential customers understand what you do. And also these AI agents, because these AI agents, they are a type of user and we need to optimize for them. If they're not able to understand in plain English what your brand does, then you're not going to appear in these new platforms. So it's a really interesting time, but it comes back again to the fundamentals of good traditional SEO, as well as looking into the new technologies and how we can leverage those.
Yeah.
And from my research, definitely it's all about entities, and there's been so much research done on entities as well in SEO, and really good technical SEOs have been focusing on entity level optimization for a long time. So not looking at keywords, but looking at brands as entities.
Yeah.
And if your user base is active on YouTube, then okay, you should have a strategy for YouTube. If you're talked about, or if your topic is talked about in Reddit, then maybe you should have some kind of presence there. So it's just coming back to being where your customers are, I think.
Yeah.
And that's not a new phenomenon.
Yeah, it's don't know what to tell you guys, but it's like, it sounds boring, but I think it just honestly feels like just sticking to the fundamentals. It's like going back to that shiny object syndrome again. Like, honestly, it's just like, if you can just stick to the fundamentals and do a really good job of that with a good SEO agency or in-house SEO person, then all the stuff that the brands are talking about, like trying to be more visible, it would just come as a byproduct of having good solid fundamentals, because that's, from what I've seen, unless happy to be corrected if proven wrong, that's all I've seen at the moment, just strong fundamentals helping the brands that are doing well. So
definitely. You've touched on a very important point. I'm sure there'll come at some point where a brand reaches maturity, where they've covered the fundamentals. Then you can look at additional opportunities within these different platforms. But if you're not at a basic level yet, then you can't go through the advanced techniques.
Yeah, it's like another analogy, like World Cup. Say you get knocked out of the quarterfinals, but you're trying to force yourself into the semifinals. You need to actually do well in the quarterfinals and win before you can get to the semifinals.
Definitely, the stages. There's levels to everything, of course. So
you can't just jump from level 1 to level 10 without even doing everything in the middle. So you have to do all the basics in first, then you can do the advanced stuff.
Absolutely. I think we'll end on that note. And hope you enjoy this discussion. I'm sure we'll get a lot of comments around this because it's a really popular topic. And if you do want to get in touch with us around any of this information, so just reach out to Growthack via our LinkedIn profiles. And we're looking forward to hearing from you.